I'm Daniel Minty, a cognitive behavioral therapist, teacher, and writer. My colleagues at Tel Aviv's Ramat Gan College invited me there next week to present a workshop on dealing with difficult people. They selected me for the job on the basis of my being a difficult person, one who daily creates great difficulties for myself and many others. So I immediately agreed. I'm the man for that job. In 1982, a new face showed up in my Zen practice community in Seattle. The newcomer said her name was Marcia and that she worked with suicidal women at the University of Washington. Marcia had a somewhat unusual way of looking at you. Her face didn't immediately signal approval nor disapproval. She just looked at you. One day I was talking to Marcia about a fellow Zen student I'll call Richard. Richard was famously difficult in our community. While not an authority figure of any kind, he frequently told others what to do and what not to do. He seems to have some control issues, I told Marcia. Marcia gave me that look, then replied, I think Richard's just fine. It's the community's response to him that's the problem. This was the first time of many I realized Marcia was way ahead of me and many other people as well. She understood in her bones the Buddhist scripture, all beings by nature are Buddha, as ice by nature is water. Richard was a Buddha, if one had the eye to see him clearly. Marcia has this eye. Years later, I asked why she chose to work with people diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. Because they're the best patients, she immediately replied. I'd get bored working with anyone else. What happens when we reduce another human being to a label? I think a couple of things happen when we refer to someone as an angry Black woman, a Karen, controlling, or a borderline personality. For one, we now begin relating to a label, not a fellow human being. And those labels are oftentimes hidden should statements. We're telling ourselves and perhaps others who and how this particular Buddha isn't quite right. Very frequently, labels are also placeholders for I feel statements. Instead of the community saying to Richard, I feel frustrated when you talk to me in that way. By withholding this information, we preserve the status quo. We preserve it in a particularly critical and hostile way, a way that paints the other as inferior and reassures we ourselves that we are superior. This is what Marcia pointed out to me years ago, and I believe that I see it at play around me in the world daily ever since. At Ramat Gan, we'll be looking together at some of the factors that shape personality, difficult or otherwise. Genetics plays a huge role. It's estimated that in the general population, 40 to 60% of emotionality is inherited. In those of us qualifying for personality disorder diagnoses, that number might be as high as 70%. Personality disorders also travel with signature differences in brain structure and function, particularly in circuits that underlie emotional processing, including the prefrontal cortex, the anterior cingulate cortex, the hippocampus, and the amygdala. In play as well are the environmental and political circumstances of our childhood development and adult lives. The quality of the air we breathe, the water we drink. Jackson, Mississippi's undrinkable water has been in the news recently, highlighting another of racism's historical effects on Black people in the American South. Thank you for watching this video. I hope it has suggested some alternate ways of perceiving difficult others like myself. Perhaps it will lessen your interest in trading in labels and increase your interest in looking, as does Marcia, at human beings, beings who are Buddhists, one and all.